Welcome back to the Bayside Fabrication YouTube channel. Well, we're getting really close on this motor here, and this video is going to be pretty much like a montage of all these little things that we have to do to get this motor running, which is the next step. So you just have to button up a lot of plumbing, electrical, things like that. But first, I got this in, which I'm really excited to see if it even fits. So this is a Skunk 2 magnesium valve cover. Let's see what we got here. Now, Nick, with the K24 997, turned me on to this valve cover, and it was going to be what he was going to run. However, it's been on back order from Skunk 2 for a ridiculous amount of time, and it just became available like a week ago. So let me open this up here. All right, look at this. This is what we have. Now this is their low profile magnesium valve cover. Now this is designed for low profile applications, which is exactly what we needed. So as you can see, what I did with mine here is this is the hardest aluminum alloy I've ever tried to weld. This was a total pain in the ass to do. So I wasn't thrilled about that. Very, very difficult to weld that. And if I were to ever replicate this and do it for customers or whatever, I probably would have to charge similar to what that is. And at the end of the day, I just wasn't really happy with how this came out, mainly because I had to mill all this down, super pain in the ass, and it welded like crap. And it was it was just a crap show. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't good fun to do. So let's get these a little side by side here. So there's the profile. I mean, mine is pretty much the same height here. This looks a little smaller. And then right here was the critical spot, which is much, much shorter here. That's really the critical areas. Everything else is no big deal. This is great because the oil fills on this side, so the engine actually sits in the car. It sits at an angle like this, so our oil cap is no problem there, which is included. It's got our breathers on the intake side, just like we had planned. And yeah, let's just pop this thing on. What am I hitting here? All right, so as you can see, guys, this is the whole kit it comes with. I got way ahead of myself. Obviously, I was like, oh, it's just gonna bolt on. Obviously, it won't. So main things are, you have to replace this bolt, and you just have to really go and pop these out and just replace them with the ones they give you and follow the instructions like a normal person would do. So I'm gonna go through this right now, see what we can do just to get this thing on, and eager to ditch this one and pop that one on. Okay guys, check this out. That's a good looking setup. I know it's gonna fit. And man, that's just exponentially better than what I was dealing with. So all I have to do is source a plug for the rear PCV there, and then I just have to get a couple, I think these are ORB threads here. So we'll just get a couple 10ANs for that, figure out our coil pack mounting, and this puppy's ready to go. The only problem I had was this, with this pan, and it's really not a big deal, is that there's this tiny little set screw right here that goes into this tiny little hole right here to set your dipstick in. And it appears that these threads do not match the threads in here. It kind of just went in super easy, and then I gave it like, barely a tighten, and it just felt like it stripped. But after inspecting it, the threads are still good in there, and the threads are good on here. So I just don't know if they're the right size, to be honest with you, because the threads aren't damaged in there. So not really a big deal. All things considered, pretty sick setup here. Very fired up. All right, now let's go start looking at other things. Okay guys, just plugging away at the motor here as per usual, and I just want to show you what I'm doing here. I am wrapping the exhaust in fiberglass heat wrap. So what I'm doing is just soaking it in water and then wrapping, obviously just wrapping it. The water helps it kind of loosens it up, and when it dries it gets tighter. And what this is going to do for us is keep the engine bay temperatures down a little bit, and it's also going to speed up the hot air coming through the exhaust and should theoretically spool the turbo faster. So the hotter the air, the faster it moves, and that's the theory with this. So we'll get these nice and insulated, and it's gonna look pretty good at the end too. I've always been a fan of using the heat wrap, and you know, this is obviously stainless steel, so we don't have to worry about it rusting with the water and all that stuff. And it's just gonna be a nice little touch here. And this stuff's not expensive. I forgot how much it costs, but it's like 20 or 30 bucks. Okay, you'll notice I have my turbo manifold wrapped and reinstalled. I need to finish up the wiring harness here. As you can see, we have our whole harness pretty much installed. I have to figure out the coil packs. They're actually not gonna be able to mount on the motor because I was trying to do a bunch of figuring and there's no real good place for them. So I think mounting them up in the chassis somewhere is going to be a better option. So I'll have to kind of wait on that. But as you can see, we have all of our wiring squared away. We have our cam sensors and everything installed. So the only thing really we have to do here is get our drive-by wire converted to a basic clutch cable setup. So what we need to do is really convert these plugs here to just this single one. Now, the guy I bought this from, his name's Matt, he's from South Dakota, and he's just super, super helpful. He knows this wiring harness like the back of his hand. It's actually kind of like crazy how he knows all this stuff. I mean, I'm talking about the drive-by wire plugs. He's like, oh yeah, you take the orange and that's your 5-volt signal and blah, blah, blah. And he just knows this stuff off the top of his head. It's like, it's insane. I don't know how he knows this, but anyways, he's been super helpful. So big shout out to Matt if you're watching this. I really appreciate your help, buddy. So with that being said, we have our plugs sorted out. So we're just gonna clip the wires we need to, cap them off, and then use the wires that we need to use. We also have a couple more sources that I didn't really realize until now. This is our flex fuel. So we have a flex fuel, our sensor here is all ready to go and set up. We actually have a fuel pressure sensor, which we don't have the fuel pressure sensor itself, but it is the plug and everything's wired for that fuel pressure sensor. So that's pretty rad. And we'll probably get one of those just to, you know, make this one of those deals where we have as much information as possible. All right, guys, check this out. So I have my oil pan pulled back off. Now they got my turbo drain and everything installed, as you can see it. And I was debating about doing this or not, and I decided it's probably a good idea to do this, and I'm going to put my RSX Type S oil pump on here. Now this is a balanced stock oil pump setup that I guess has issues once you start revving it past stock red lines. So what we're gonna do is get this out of here, and what we have to do is pull the pump off, pull the windage tray off, pull our crank pulley off, and pull our timing cover off. So I'm hoping I can do all that right now, and then I'll see how this looks here. This is obviously one of the critical parts. Also, while I'm in here, I'm considering baffling the oil pan as well, just because this is getting mounted in a completely opposite direction than the stock configuration. I think a baffle at this stage of the game will have a nice clean oil pan. Welding in some sort of baffle, the trapdoors or something might be a good idea. I'm gonna take a look in here for the first time. Doesn't look too bad. So look at that, guys. All right, so check this out, guys. That little dowel, I believe, is supposed to sit right in that little keyway, and that dowel is sheared off. This is probably why the car wound up at the junkyard. So while I'm here, and I got the whole oil pan off and I can see everything, I'm going to inspect the cylinder walls. I did scope this when I first bought it, and the top of the pistons and everything looked fine. All the valves are intact, nothing looks bent. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. That's pretty wild. I just hope there's no damage internally due to that, because obviously the crank was moving not in time with the cams. So I actually have my other motor, which had the timing gear in, and this is what it's supposed to look like. Obviously there's just that little dowel. That's the only thing that holds that from spinning on the shaft, and this was ours. So as you can see, the dowel on this one sheared off. Well guys, I can say with a relative degree of certainty that that is definitely a problem that probably caused this engine to stop running at one point. Threw it out of timing, wouldn't start, the car was half wrecked anyways, and they just said, yeah, whatever, screw it. So cross my fingers that nothing else is damaged here, and we're just going to keep plugging away. Now I'm going to go online right now and research if this is a common problem or not. I would assume it is. Like I said, I'm not like super duper familiar with these K-series. This is my first one, so I'm not sure of like really common issues or anything like that. So I'm gonna go check that out right now and see what's up. The bright side is I'm really glad I decided to do all this, because I would have tried to start it and then we would have been having all sorts of problems and we would have never known. So I mean, I'm sure that's what it was. I'm actually hoping, like I said, we were talking about maybe internal damage of valves hitting the pistons or something like that. But I'm hoping that since the crank was on so tight, that it actually probably created enough pressure where it maybe just threw it out of timing a little bit and just caused it to run bad or something like that, but not enough to do any damage. Because like I said, once this pulley is on, it was tight and spun no problem. So maybe that lateral pressure there helped it be close to where it needed to be anyways, and avoid a catastrophic moment. So anyways, I'm gonna go see what my options are here. Either way, if it did it on this, it'll definitely do it on a higher horsepower application. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm pretty confident they make some sort of resolve for this. And if they don't have a resolution for this, maybe I can just add a keyway to the timing gear or something like that, and we won't have to deal with this problem again. So let me see what my options are, and I'll get right back to you. As far as the engine looks, everything looks good. Like I said, I scoped it before I bought it. Top of the pistons look good. All the valves I visually inspected from either side. You turn it over and you can hear the compression and feel the compression release off of each cylinder. So I think the motor is going to be okay. So what we're going to do is just figure out this keyway situation and then continue on with the oil pump thing. I did decide, and they are a little expensive, but I'm gonna go and just order new timing guides, and what we'll do is get everything new on this one and then swap it all over when we do our final built motor. But that way everything will be here. We'll have a brand new chain on this one, we'll have brand new timing guides, and essentially all that stuff will be, you know, not even an issue or a thought, because it's all going to be new. And then once we decide to up the power and swap to our built motor, we'll just swap all the brand new parts over to it, because they'll have probably pretty few miles on it after it's on this one. And that's just what we're gonna do. So I'm really only buying all the stuff once, not like I have to buy anything twice. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That does it for this one. Now, I know it feels like it's a little bit choppy, the video, because it kind of is. So what I've been doing is working just nights on this car. I've been super busy with, you know, orders and customers and things like that. So I'm just trying to show you as much as I possibly can. And at this stage of the game, it's a lot of little things, which just take a ton of time. And a lot of them are stupid, but they have to be addressed. So it's fittings, it's, you know, all this stuff. And I just want to show you guys how involved this is in case you decide you want to take on a swap like this. It's not just throwing a motor in, it's all the small things that really add up, especially in the end here. Getting the motor to actually fit in the car physically is the easy part, in my opinion. So I appreciate y'all watching, and I'm super pumped because, I mean, this thing is getting really close to actually being a running car in the near future here. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.